Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. It is such an honor for us to be here with you today, and thank you so much for tuning in across TV land. We are so honored to have the two very special guests with us today. As you know, if you've been following the show this week, we have covered four series or four parts of people who have overcome disabilities in their life. And our shows have been titled, part 1 through 4, The Ability in Disability. And some of the stories we've shared there has really been, it's really been a checkup for us. I mean, look at these folks, like the young girl that's 17 years of age, dove into a pool of water. It was shallower than what she realized. And it made her paraplegic when she damaged her neck, and how she overcame that. And many, many people suffer from disease and how they bounce back. And not only that, not only did they live their life whole, they made a lot of other people's lives whole from their inspiration to say, I rose from the ashes. And today we're going to be closing out this week with a book called Your Health Turnaround. And it was kickstarted by Mr. Austin Haines. He's with us today. And this book here was about everyday people. In fact, had the privilege of being a part of that book to tell my story, but it's encouraging that people tell their stories of what they went through, because like in my particular case, I had a heart attack, open heart surgery, bypass surgery. Maybe somewhere down the line, someone will read my story and say, hey, if Jim Brandt wasn't afraid and he survived, well, maybe I can too. And the answer to that is yes, you can. But let me bring Austin here to the show. He's a Flashpoint guy. How you doing, Austin?
Just coming from a summer party here, Jim. That's why I got this Hawaiian shirt on.
There you go.
Full summer party, so go figure. But I'm glad to be here with you today.
My pleasure. And the young lady that we have with us also, oh my goodness gracious, we has got to bring her because she is so popular. She's pressed for time, so we got to get her on our stage right now. And Mandy Robinson, thank you so much for scheduling us into your tight schedule. It's a privilege and honor to have you with us.
Well, likewise, my friend, it's a privilege and honor to be here. How are you, Jim? How are you, Austin? Good to see all of you. Happy to be here.
We're doing great.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Jim, and if I could just jump in,
Go right ahead.
Say that Mandy's become the Flashpoint spokesperson. Flashpoint is manifesting a breakthrough in your life, and the Health Turnaround book was one of the projects that we did, and Mandy has taken on such an active role and help us hold space to help people get these stories out in such a great way that they can touch other people's lives. And Mandy, you've just had so much in this project too. Even though you weren't in this book, your story's not in this book. It could be, but it wasn't in this particular book. But your ability to help hold space was, as this various summits that we did.
Yes.
I'm glad you're here today with us.
Thank you. It's a great honor because it's like Jim said at the beginning of the show, it's the stories that we all come through and not only survive, but go on to thrive and leave an example for others to follow. And that's what that Health Turnaround book is all about. The stories in there of health issues that people have overcome. And Austin knows me pretty well as well. Yes, I'm a spokesperson, but I've also overcome a lot of health issues. And one of those has to do with the heart and 2 inoperable brain tumors, all kinds of stuff. And I'm still here. They call me a walking miracle in the medical profession. And that's all going to be part of my story. But I'm here today to support you in this book and the fact that you're putting it out there for the world to see and giving hope and encouragement to other people that might be in a position where they're thinking, I've done all these tests, I've done this, I've done that, I'm too tired, I'm worn out, I can't do this. Let's just let life have its say. But there's an opportunity there. There's a great opportunity there to show the spirit that we all have within us, the God-given spirit, that we're not meant to take that stance in life. We're not meant to just give up and say, oh, to heck with it, I'm done. What's the phrase? Winners never quit and quitters never win. That's one of
There you go.
Never quit and quitters never win. And even in your darkest moments, when you think, and I've been like you, I've been in many near-death situations. I've lost count over the past 3 decades. But even in those darkest moments for me, and I'm just speaking from personal experience here, I never once turned to God and say, why me? Why is this happening to me? Never, ever, ever questioned Almighty God, because he gave me life. He gave me it as a gift. So why would I even question why things are happening to me from him? I've always turned to him for the strength and support. And I've said, I don't know why this is happening, but I do know there's a purpose. And I want you to show what the purpose is by helping me to survive, get through it, and rise above. And I think with the Health Turnaround book, with everything you've been through, Jim, and I know, Austin, you've had some of your own stories, I think that is the key component in telling our stories. There is a higher purpose for what we go through, whether it's whatever the storm is, whatever the challenge is. That is where the growth, that is where the revelation happens. And that is when we take hold of life and use our skills and our talents to help other people. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, since your time is limited, we're going to talk about the individual artist, as we go on in the show, because I know you got a tight schedule.
I do.
But I wanted to point out 2 things, and I want both of you to respond to this. Number one, ladies and gentlemen, this TV show is a total surprise to all of the authors in this book. It really is. They do not know we're doing this, and if they get upset, we'll let them get over it. We're that nice of people. No, but really, that's part of how you pay it forward. That's how you bless others. And when you look for ways to bless others, you're going to be blessed in return. Now, here's my comment that I'd like for you, Austin, and Mandy to respond to. All the authors who participated in this book. Their stories, and just share, just in general, some of the things that just really popped out and, hit you, during. Who'd like to take that first?
I was going to go to Mandy first because I know she's on a tight schedule.
Okay.
So Mandy, I would love to hear exactly. I was thinking the same thing, Jim. So it's a great question. So Mandy.
Thank you. Yeah. Otherwise I would have sat back, but that's okay. Some of the things I've taken away from each of these authors in this book. There are many themes that run through their stories. There's resilience. There's trusting the higher power. There's never giving up. There's feeling within them that there was a higher calling, a higher purpose, and no matter what, they were going to answer to it. There's been a transparency and a vigilance to expose their raw character as far as when they hit rock bottom, when they found, shall we say, the reverence from God, the grace from God, and how they use that to rise above it all and find their direction. These are some stories, yourself included, of some very brave, very courageous, incredible human beings that, you say you hit rock bottom. It's like taking a deep breath. You can take a deep breath and then you can take a little bit more, or you can let some air out and you can let a little bit more out. These are brave, courageous human beings that have hit rock bottom and then dropped a level below. And you yourself, when you went through the heart episode there, and your surgeon was saying to you, if I let you leave this hospital, you're not going to come back. I've had that said to me myself many times. Record, right? But the point is, the fact that they've all these authors, and yes, I've, as Austin and you have said, I've come to know each of them, and I often go through all my notes because I did the recap on all the interviews with Austin. So I sometimes go through my notes just to remember all the things that I learned from them, because I've only just recently obtained the book. And I think to myself, there but for the grace of God go I. And here are ordinary men and women from all walks of life. No, not necessarily special titles. Some were poor, some were in pain for donkey's years, some had heart condition, whatever it was. Men and women, basic human beings, the same as you and I, who have been through these horrendous health storms, and yet no matter what, was determined they were never going to give up. And so when you've got somebody that transparent who is willing to open themselves up and just be raw to the feelings, the atmosphere, the everything that's involved in that health story, health issue, that problem, you are looking at very courageous people. And I've been there many times, so I honor every one of these authors in this book. And I'm just very grateful that Austin put it together, included me to do the recaps, to get to know these people, and to be able to put, I feel, an health turnaround story. There it is, Flashpoint 2.0, I think that was, Austin. I feel very honored to have shared space with each of these people, and also very honored that they were open to sharing with us, with all of us, not just with me. And then I had the privilege of turning their stories around a little bit so that we could get the best out of them. So it's been a great pleasure for me, a great privilege. I'm very honored, and I'm so grateful for this platform, Jim. You're doing an amazing thing here, and Austin has an amazing platform too. So I've still got 2 minutes, but I'll pass it over to Austin for now, and I'll just hang on a few more minutes.
I appreciate your words. And it's interesting because when I think about the project, I think about the heart of the individuals.
Yeah.
And it's such an irony that, Jim's story has to do with his heart. And it's no accident that he was the first chapter in the book. And so that speaks volumes. And his story is amazing how he processed this. So I think it's important to note that when you hear stories like this, people that weren't supposed to walk again, people that were on death's door, people that were diagnosed with conditions, and they beat all the odds. But it's important to note that they're no different than the listener. They just tapped into that deeper part of themselves that had to sort through what they're hearing. Because when you're in these situations, some of what you hear coming from professionals is not going to help you. Some of what you hear that comes from some other area might. Now, that's not absolute in every case, but some of these people had to dial into their own intuitive intuition. They had to submit. They had to surrender, maybe even to a higher power, and trust something they don't understand. But they tapped into it. And I think, when I think about it, my gut feeling, my belief is that these stories will not tell you exactly what to do, but they will help you tap into something deeper. And the fruit of that will be that maybe that next best decision. And we'll get into some of the details of what those options are. But every single person here has touched my life. And as Mandy's story has, which Mandy's story is not in here, but her story has touched my life with her health challenges. So I'm blessed. My lessons came from watching other people. My health challenges were, compared to these stories, not really, I had an accident, I could have died, but these stories were people that go through things. My lessons came from watching other people, watching my parents. My mom was doing the right things and taught me health. My dad was doing the wrong things and taught me what not to do. But I had to listen and learn. And I hope people get these stories and they glean something from it.
Oh, yeah. It's so important because everyone has a story in them. I don't care what your story is. It may be health related. It may be good wisdom related, whatever it might be. But just think of this, just like each one of the authors in this book who shared their story, they're going to touch someone's lives out there. And you too can. You can touch other people's lives with your story. I don't care if it's a motivational story. I don't care if it's overcoming a tragedy, whatever it might be, because your story is so valuable. There's someone out there you can inspire by sharing your story. And you need to get your voice out there. You can either get it on blogs, write a book, whatever it takes, but follow the energy, because when you put forth a good effort and your mindset is that I'm not doing it for the big three, me, myself, and I. I'm doing it to bless others. That's when the doors are going to open for you. All you got to do is just walk through it.
Yeah. And Mandy, I want to say one thing before I know I just want to share this because Jim opened up the show and I just want to keep this theme. turning your disability into your ability. That was a key theme. So I just wanted to hit that.
Yeah. No, I was just going to
Yeah.
say where I was going to go with inspiration. Yeah, you can motivate people. You can motivate people. You know, somebody's out of pocket and you can say, okay, well, they're hiring at Pizza Hut or wherever it is, and go and deliver pizzas and get some cash in your pocket. You can okay, yeah, I'll go do that. There's a huge difference between inspiration and motivation, and this is where I draw the line, because everything I do, Austin does. I'm seeing it here on your show as well. I've been on it a few times in the chat room. It's all about inspiring the listener. Now,
Yes.
I'm also a legacy ghostwriter, so I love to extract these unique stories that every single person has inside of them. And my philosophy is this, that, like you said, every person has a unique story, and it doesn't matter what that story is. We are all unique individuals coming from different backgrounds with different perspectives, likes, dislikes, etc., etc., etc. And that's what makes us all unique. But if you, the listener, leave that story still in here and not share it the rest of us out here in the world, you are leaving unfinished business in your soul. You're leaving unfinished business. And when you look at it like that, it to me, it feels that's not right. It's not right. Because somebody out there, whether it's one person, 10 person, 5,000 people, it doesn't matter. Even if it's just one person, and that's what I say, that's what I pray before I step onto any stage to speak. I'm doing it on the 26th of this month, actually. And before I step onto that stage, I look up and I say, it's not about me. You know, take any ego away that I may have, and please use me to reach, even if it's the heart of one person, and make a difference. And I'm covered in goosebumps right now, because he does that for me every single time I step up and speak. We need to feel vulnerable enough. And to say this to your listeners, it is okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to get into uncomfortable positions, because that is where the turnaround, the breakthrough, the light coming on is going to happen. And once you start to share that story, and it's published, like in the Health Turnaround book there, and the other books that we've all published, as it were, then the energy, like you said, it's out there, it's reverberating, and you don't know where it's going to fall, on whose ears it's going to land, and in whose heart it's going to stir the necessary step for them to say, okay, I've got this, I can do it, I'm worthy, I deserve it, I'm loved, and there are people out there that have gone before me, and I'm going to do it too. So if it's the last thing I say here to anybody, step into your power, step into your courage, one tiny little step, and you'll be surprised where the grace of God will fall upon that one tiny step, and you will just build and build and build. So I do have to love and leave you. I'm so sorry. I've really enjoyed being here. I hope that's been helpful. I could speak.
Yeah.
And I love you both.
Security, could you lock the door and not let her out, please? We always enjoy being with you, Mandy.
Thank
You're
you.
just a jewel and just a wonderful lady. Beautiful friend. Thank you.
I was going to joke with you. I hear this is pre-recorded, so if you lock the door so that she can't come back in, there's ways and means I can do things.
I want to lock you in.
Yeah, lock you in.
Not out, in.
Yeah.
Oh, lock me in. Oh, that's sweet. Bless you. So sorry, I do have to run. So namaste.
Okay.
God
Bye
bless
for
you.
now.
And God bless all your listeners. Take the step into your power. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Wow. Whoops. I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button there, brother.
It's all right. We're back.
Yeah, we really are. And, you know, her story and the way she shares so much energy and love, you know, she inspires people just to come out and be themselves. I mean, just think of the people that have made a tremendous living, brought a tremendous amount of joy. I'm not talking about money when I say a tremendous living. I'm talking about a tremendous lifestyle of joy and happiness. And just by telling the funny stories in their life, because people do need to have some good laughter in their life, because laughter is a great healer for the body.
Right.
And so whatever your calling or gift is, don't waste it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. And so Mandy was great to have
Mm,
as a spokesperson in this project, because it's
yeah.
when there's these things are happening. We had a summit, as you know, we did a lot of things to
Mm,
highlight the book.
yeah.
And it's always great to have somebody who's really observing
Mhm.
what's happening and hearing and watch people evolve as they share their story, right? Because
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
because you put your story, there's a evolution, Jim. As you went through the process, so you know, and I know we're going to highlight
Mhm.
some of these authors as well in
Mhm.
the book, but it's amazing. I'm humbled by it. I'm humbled by the people in this
Oh,
book
yeah.
that, showed
It,
up to be
it
in it.
really is, because anytime you share your story and you're helping someone, you're really also helping yourself, because
Right.
it just reflects back on you.
Right.
And yeah, it's a wonderful thing. And I encourage you, whatever even if your call is to write family history about your family,
Mm.
that is something that is practically non-existent in our family, because most of the records were kept in family Bibles. And guess what happens to the family Bibles? Because I grew up in the country in North Carolina, and that's where all my people lived. And family Bibles get handed down to one person, and it just
Right.
gets lost,
Right.
and it's impossible to track. So if you have that ability or the resources to do that, think about the next generation or two generations down, what
Right.
that would mean to them, especially some of the inspiring stories. Because let's face it, our fathers, grandfathers, and great grandfathers, they had a little bit tougher than what we than we got it today. But their
Yes.
stories could be very inspirational to them. They can look to that and say, "That was one of my
Yes.
relatives, and I'm proud of that relative."
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's important.
Yeah. So yeah, I always encourage people to connect with Jim or whatever. If you feeling something, connect with somebody that
Yeah,
you can take a step.
absolutely.
Step is,
And
but
we're gonna be talking about the some of the different offers here.
yeah,
We'll have their email address,
cool.
website.
Cool.
Feel free to zip right in there and get hold of them and say, "Hey,
Yes.
I'd like to talk to you," because everybody can connect to somebody.
Yes.
And if you find that somebody in your life, you're doubly blessed. Do not waste that opportunity.
Yes. Amen to that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you want to get started on the authors here?
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, which one you want to start with?
I want to start with Joe T. because
All right.
Joe's an amazing guy. He is a
Mhm.
passionate about fitness. He's making a difference. He's a former trainer of the Kansas City Chiefs,
Mhm.
and he's just a passionate guy. He's got an incredible story about his had to do with substance abuse, where he found himself at a very young age
Mm.
where he almost overdosed.
Oh, wow.
And that's we know that's a common problem today. But how did Joe turn it around? What did he do? Well, that's in the book. And not only did he turn it around, today he's got an incredible fitness brand that he's building, and his website is under construction right now. Uh,
Mhm.
but we'll share that. But you can get a hold of him at Joe T at WDMFitBody.com. And I think that stands for West Des Moines, I believe, the
Mhm.
WDM. But he's just been great, and the way he shows up and the way he pours his heart out. And he found fitness as a way to heal emotionally, even spiritually. I would say mentally, physically, and spiritually. He
Mm.
just grabbed a hold of fitness, became so passionate about it from that dark moment. And
Mhm.
to this day, this is what he does. He reaches people,
Mhm.
teaches them not only in the gym, but again, the emotional, physical, nutritional part. And he embodies all of it. So it was great to have his story in
Mhm.
this book.
I'm reading one area here, and I'm going to share this with you. Joe talks about, in my youth, it caused a serious problem as well. I lacked the knowledge and maturity to change my environment. So when he says that, that's telling me, and that's hitting home to a lot of people out there. As a youth, I had problems and I didn't know how to change my environment. But, if Joe T struggled through it and made it, you can too. You
Yeah.
really can. And I like the way that all of the authors in this book just open up. And like Joe T says here, and I'm going to share this with you, if I may, ladies and gentlemen, says your environment is not just the home you reside in or the place you work at. The environment is the energy that connects your heart to your brain. The way you think, the way you feel, the way you treat others is a result of this environment. That's a power-packed message right there. And that's what's in this book. Yeah. Joel T, along with the other authors, I mean, they don't use big fancy words. They don't try to impress you with a bunch of la-di-da, this is who I am. I'm a best-selling author. I'm this, I'm that. No, these are people that's down to earth. They've been there. They got skin in the game. And the reason why they're sharing their story is to encourage you, because I imagine that one paragraph there I shared with you about your environment, that probably touched a few hearts out there in TV land. If it touched your heart, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
We've been paid in full. How about that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Environment externally and then internally.
Oh, yeah. I never had thought about the internal environment, but, it's true.
Yeah.
And that can only come from a guy that's been there and has got skin in the game. Because a guy like me, ladies and gentlemen, don't tell anybody I said this, but I'm not that smart to figure out that inner game. I need some help.
We all do.
Yeah, but realistically, that's how you go and that's how you grow. You pick up knowledge and wisdom and insight from people who have got skin in the game, people who care enough to, tell you their true life story for the purpose of benefiting you. Yeah. That is a tremendous blessing to have in this life.
Yes. Yes, it is. And that's what we're doing here. We're highlighting that. And I love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who's the next author you'd like to mention here?
This is a great setup for Dr. Phil because about the internal environment. And one of the things I walked away with Dr. Phil over 30 years, and he had a situation with his daughter while his wife was pregnant. Then the whole story's in here. But what I love about it, he says the body only knows how to heal.
Oh, yeah.
And that really stuck with me because if you think about it, we think like I'm sick or I'm well, but the body only knows healing. So the body consistently wants to move toward wellness. And the whole message is getting it out of the way, really getting the limitations out of the way and then putting in the right things that are going to help the body do what it does best. And so I really love that story. And, he's just been he's a Max Living Indies doctor. He's a naturopathy, and he's been at this for over 30 years. And he's into some really interesting things right now that he's consistently innovating. So I know he's already working in an area. He does biofeedback. Mm-hmm. He was a master's in temperate therapy and nutritional mental health. He has a bachelor's in biblical theology and holds certificates in biofeedback, functional nutritional assessment, nutrition response testing, and has 108 hours of additional study in drugless therapies. Think about that. 108 hours of additional study in drugless therapies. That's huge.
It really is. And I like his comment here. It says, the body has no idea how to be sick. And the symptoms are our friends. That is a totally different, that's on a different plateau, isn't it?
Oh my God. I got goosebumps. So there you go. My body's responding to that. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. It really is.
Yeah.
And you're listening to him. I've been on a couple of shows with him, with calls and stuff. I mean, he just blows me away of how he talks about, that your body is constantly wanting to get better and better and better, because that is when you look at the molecular level, and I'm certainly not in Dr. Phil's category there by any stretch of the imagination, but at the molecular level, every single living thing strives to get two things, nourishment and life. And I heard it said many years ago, and I can't remember who said it, but it said even cancer is a living, thriving, at the molecular level. It really is. And if you want to destroy cancer, defeat cancer, you've got to shut off the supply route to it. Because everything on planet Earth must have nourishment to live and survive. You turn off the nourishment, it's got to go away. And that was pretty powerful. It stayed with me all these years. I heard that about, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago. No, I say 25 or 30 years ago. It's back in the 70s. I'm really showing my age now. Instead of being 74, I'm actually 47. Being dyslexic sometimes does help.
That's right. But that point, wow. I mean, that's a wow right there.
Yeah, it really is.
And you'll find that in a lot of this work, because we have one of our authors who did deal with cancer and overcame it.
Yes.
And like you're saying, what nourishes it? You reverse it.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Norman Cousins was another one back in the day who had reversed cancer. Mm-hmm. And all he did was he reversed it. And it's interesting, that story, not to go off on a tangent, but he used laughter, to your point. Laughter was a key thing, because what does it say in a certain book I've heard about? There's a certain book, and what's it say? It says, laughter doeth good like a medicine, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
some people are just going to look at us and they're going to just laugh. So we've done our job.
That's right. That's right. They think we're here for our good looks. Well, we got news for you. We're here for our dynamic charm and our personality.
There you go.
But, the authors in this book, we've talked about Joe Till and Dr. Phil Harris, and it just blows me away how these folks can communicate and say things that make you have a wow moment. Every one of them has got wow moments in there.
Yeah.
And to me, it wasn't a wow moment. What I went through was just, this is where I'm at and what I got to do and my attitude in life, whatever it is, I got to face it. Let's get it behind us. Let's go on. That's about it. Yeah. And to some people, that's a wow moment. To me, it was just kind of like, okay, what else? I mean, that's just my attitude in life. Yeah. But all the great authors in here, and there's one young lady, oh my goodness, great. I get a kick. I really admire her more after reading her story. And that is this young lady right here. She's known as Mama Mo, and I just can't call that young lady Mama Mo. I just can't. But,
Yeah.
When I read her story, oh my goodness.
Yeah. It's a deep dive. Yeah.
And the thing about it, when you see her on the screen, not only does she have a beautiful smile, but she's got a light in her eyes.
Yes.
And her candle of light, her spirit, all the bad things that happened to her did not tarnish that.
No.
All the darkness in her life could not squelch that beautiful flame.
Yeah. Yeah, she's got a powerful story of overcoming trauma, physical I think it's Hodgkin's or no, it's
wait a minute.
Not it's she had cancer.
Yeah.
And there's the name I have to dig up the name, but
because I hit him by surprise on this when I called.
That's okay. But I do want to point out that she has such a love for dogs, known as the mother of dogs, mother of plants, and of course the mother to my wild and free offspring. That's why she got the nickname Mama Mo. It's the greatest gift on earth. She's a herbal practitioner, canine nutritionist, and I love her. She goes by RAW, Rebuilding an Authentic World, RAA. Rebuilding, and you can see it in her email there. Rebuilding an Authentic World. But she's had so many afflictions, and forgive me, I might have misspoke one of them, but she's had so many afflictions that she's overcome. And she continues to overcome. She's just a miracle. And like you said, she has not lost Hashimoto's. That's what it's called. It's a thyroid disease. That's what it's a thyroid disease called Hashimoto's. And she shows up, and I don't know how she does it. Like, she's one of those people that you look at and you're amazed. You're just amazed at how she shows up with the light and the smile.
Oh,
and she's been through. So absolutely.
Yeah, she's when you talk about this young lady and you think about her, and I've been on a couple of calls with her, I think, Zoom calls and stuff. And she's not only just impressive as an individual, what really strikes me is that how down to earth she is.
Yeah.
How genuine she is,
Mhm.
how much courage and how comfortable she is in talking about all the tragedies and all the hard times that she went through, all of the abuse and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's just, I got to tip my hat to her. I
Yeah.
really do.
And if the listener gets this book, you will
Mhm.
be touched by these stories in
Yes.
ways you don't even know right now.
Mm. Mm.
It's a deep dive, her story.
Yeah.
As
It
all,
really, truly is. I mean, she was devastated many times and just, but yet she rose from the ashes. And her story will inspire you. In fact, if you know of someone that's going through an abusive situation who needs to hear someone's story that's been there, they've done it, they've survived, they've risen up from the ashes like the phoenix, you need to get this book. You really, truly do. And read all the stories in there, but particular Monique. I can't call her Mama Mo. She's because I'm older than her. I can't call a young lady that Mama Mo. But anyway, she goes by that because she does love her dogs.
Amazing Mo. You call her Amazing Mo.
Hey, that works for me because that fits her. That
Yeah.
fits her like a glove, custom made glove for your hand.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
But she's just a wonderful, wonderful person. And the price you pay for this book, which is not very much.
No.
I don't even know what it is on Amazon. But
yeah, it's under was it $20 or less?
Yeah, something like that. Her story alone
27, yeah.
is well worth it because think about all the people that you could share that book with, her story with. Because we just covered a couple of weeks ago in a TV show about abuse. And it's a horrible thing for people to live with because remember let me say this. Remember that people who abuse others, they have a very low self-esteem.
Yeah.
And they're fueled with hate because jealousy is a form of hatred that wounds cruelly. And Monique has been there, amazing Mo, and she has survived. And her story will inspire someone that you may know to be like her and be like the phoenix and rise up out of the ashes and say, this may be my background, but this does not define me. This is in my past. I'm going forward in the future.
Yep. And so approachable.
Oh gosh, yes.
All these authors are
Mhm.
so approachable. It says in the title, inspiring stories from wellness experts and people who overcame devastating illnesses to live fulfilled lives with health and happiness, but they're all approachable.
Mm-hmm.
They're approachable.
Absolutely.
They want to hear from you. Yeah.
Who's the next author you'd like to speak with?
I was thinking about Dr. Kevin Jackson.
Okay.
He's a miracle, man. This man.
Oh yeah.
He is. I was referred to Dr. Kevin and Joe Tewell by Marlon Mueller, who's an associate friend, client of mine. And Dr. Kevin's story, not only his health story, he was incarcerated for 18 years.
That's right.
Came out, made himself a multimillionaire, and he helps youth, completely turned his life around. But then he had an accident. He was driving and he must have passed out because he was working so hard at the time. And the foot went on the accelerator. He doesn't even remember what happened, but he woke up and they told him he was not going to walk again. And I'm happy to say that he did his first 5K with his mom.
Oh yeah, that's beautiful.
Incredible. Yeah. Again, oh gosh, I can't even wrap my head around it. When he tells the story about what really happened in that accident, I don't want to get into the details because it might make somebody uneasy. But yeah, he's almost like the bionic man.
Yeah, it happened on March 3rd, 2018. So for him to come back from devastating injury and then be able to compete in a 5K. I got to tip my hat to that. That's amazing. That in itself is a story that could inspire someone who has been very, injured very seriously in an accident or something like that. Because the bad news he got, was not something that you'd want to hear, obviously, but he was an optimist. He didn't look at what he could not do. He looked at what he could do. And he, like the phoenix, come out of them ashes. I mean, I've referred to that several times, but the truth of it is that's what it takes sometimes to rise up.
Yeah.
And to have the courage to say, okay, I may have this disease. I may have this injury, but this disease or injury does not have me. It doesn't own me.
Yeah.
It's just a condition. It's a physical thing because I'm on a higher level, a higher plane, if I might say that, because I'm in tune with the universe, with love and abundance. Ooh. Yeah. Quite an amazing story. You're right.
Yeah. He came up and he was a speaker at my event here.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. I mean, everybody
was
moved and touched by his story and him and who he is,
yeah.
person today, and being in the darkest moments,
Mm-hmm. And he holds a PhD in international business relations.
Yes.
And very talented man. Very talented
right.
man.
And he was incarcerated for 18 years. And that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Just another amazing human that we're so
that's an individual who is honest about themselves and says, I made a mistake in life and I was in prison for 18 years, but that's not who I am today. Oh man.
Yeah.
These are incredible stories.
And I wish I could tell you that, hey, I went and said, oh, I'm going to have that person. These people were divinely guided to this project. There's no question in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, we never really had a conversation. I don't remember exactly how my story got in your book, to be honest with you. I know Dr. Grant was involved with it, but no relation. We're brothers by different mothers, you might say. But it's like me and Austin, we're brothers by different mothers. And we really are, because everybody is. We're brothers and sisters by different mothers. And that's the outlook we should have. Because like I tell people many times, can you imagine what a wonderful world this world would be if everyone had the loving heart of the family dog? Think about that. Loyal, forgiving. Yeah.
Wow.
We're not smart enough to figure that one out, folks. That's why we struggle with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great metaphor, Jim. And you think about it, the dog is always happy to see.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they don't care if you got money or how good looking. You could be so ugly, you got to sneak up on a glass to catch it. Just get a drink of water out of it, and they'll still love you.
Yeah, you could be Brad Pitt, because Mama Mo's dog, one of their dogs, was in the movie Once Upon a Time.
Yeah.
With Brad Pitt. So there you go.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's all of these stories here, and listening to all of the authors on the calls there. I know all of them, and I'm sitting there, and I got to be honest with you, folks. I'm sitting there listening to Joe Tibbles' story, Monique, her story. Amazing Mo. That's a good name for her.
That is a good
it
name.
really is. It fits her so perfectly. Dr. Phil Harris and Dr. George Grant and everybody else. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, am I in the right place? I mean, because, really, I mean, these folks, I'm kind of like, wow,
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you. If they need a good filler story, I guess I was about as good of a filler story they could get to finish up the book. But I say that in good humor.
Let the book off, like I said, you're the heartbeat.
Yeah, I had to put my heart into this to get in that book. How about that?
Literally.
But realistically, I was really impressed with what the other authors had to say and do, and what they went through, and how open and honest they were. Let's talk about a couple more here as time is getting down.
Yeah, I want to get to we can actually talk about two people here, because
okay, go ahead.
Gregory Hall was somebody who was in chronic pain for years.
Yes.
And he could imagine having something and you don't have any certainty around what to do. Everything's unpredictable, and you're going to professionals and you're going to this person, that person, and you get no answers. And then you got Dr. George Grant, who wrote the forward in this amazing book. And started to, and by the way, Dr. Grant's lessons are right in the front. We didn't even want to hold them out. We wanted to say, let's get the info to people right away. Let's give them some options right away. Well, Gregory Hall was somebody that took these opportunities, these lessons that Dr. Grant teaches, and over time, not too long after dealing with it for 20 years, his body started to correct and heal and
respond.
And then since then, he said, since my transformation from being sad, sick, and in pain, I decided to open up my new business called Quantum Balanced Limited. So he took this passion of healing and infused it into his own business with different modalities that he's learned. And he's going even deeper into.
And the moral of that story is that he had the courage to say, I'm going to try one more time, take it one more step.
Right.
Because he had to have some doubts in his mind. That'd be perfectly normal, perfectly natural, perfectly human.
Right.
But he says, I'm gonna try one more time.
Right.
And that's when you step into greatness. Oh, I love people like that. And I just admire their stories.
Yeah. And, he found the answer. After 20 years, 20 years, like a 20-year journey for this man. And he finally found Dr. Grant. He found one person. Sometimes it's one person becomes that pointer.
Oh, yeah.
Searching for.
Absolutely. Who's another author you'd like to highlight here as with time permitting?
Well, why don't we highlight you, Jim, because your story, I mean, we talked about your story. I had you on my show, but being in the hospital, not getting a clean bill of health, every physical you're going to, you're healthy, Jim, you're doing great. Right. And then October 2000.
Halloween night at midnight, I had a heart attack. Right. I mean, I find humor in that. I mean, how many people would have a heart attack at midnight on Halloween,
I know, right?
Yeah. I mean, I must have raised my hand for that, and I'll volunteer.
Right. Send me. Right. Exactly.
Let me just give a condensed version of that so I don't bore people. For many years, as Austin just said, I mean, for decades, I go to the doctor's office. Hey, you're looking great. You're younger on the inside than your years and all that. Keep doing what you're doing. My last physical was in 2 years before, in 2019. I had the heart attack in 2021, and blood pressure great. Bad cholesterol was at 76. And even in the hospital after my heart attack, my LDL was only 96. So at no time would I raise any flag. The point of it is, I tell people that having the widowmaker in my heart that I did not know I had, it was hereditary. And what I went through was really a blessing in disguise. And I'm very, very thankful I had the heart attack because it was a mild heart attack. And that enabled me through 4 bypasses to be able to get this corrected. And I will never, ever, ever have to face that again. So that's because a widowmaker, it is a serious condition in the heart. There's no question about that. But all the way through the hospital, they did 67 tests on me. Every time that they drew blood out of the back of my hands over 6 hours, that was a test. And they're such nice people. I mean, they'll even wake you up to when they draw blood out of the back of your hand. They don't want you to miss out on that fun. But on that Monday morning when I went in there to have the stents, that's when Dr. Grave, my cardiologist over in College Station with the Baylor Scott and White Hospital, he says, I'm sorry, but this won't work for you. He says, you have the widowmaker. And he says, you're going to need open heart surgery. You need it today. We cannot turn you loose. This is too serious. And that's when I said, well, Lord, I mean, I was in an outpatient now. I'm going to go home. I'm going to feel good. Now I got, oh man. And people asked me how I felt. And I said, well, I was frustrated more than anything else. I mean, kind of like what else? And I said, Lord, it's in your hands. If the surgery goes well, I go home. If it doesn't go well, I'll still go home. What surprised me was that immediately I was covered with just a feeling of love, safety, comfort, everything.
Wow.
And the way it felt is kind of like we understand when we're breathing oxygen, okay? I was breathing in and exhaling love. And I knew everything instantly, kind of like a light bulb going off in a dark room. It lights the entire room. I knew the surgery would go well, the recovery would go well. I understood everything, all of the things in my life, my shortcomings, my faults, even my stupidity, the stupid things I did. It doesn't exist there. It's all about love. And I knew nothing could touch me, nothing could hurt me. And so, yeah, it's a feeling that will never, never, ever, ever come close to growing old. And so I went into the surgery, and going in, because I was coming from such a safe place, I just, hey, thank you for the hospital. Thank you for the doctors and all that. And, I came out fine, and recovery was real good and all. And I only had one minor incident. And on Wednesday night after my surgery on Monday, I had my heart going to AFib. That's a lot of fun. But that was about it. And through it all, this is something else I'd like to share with you. I don't think we take enough time in life to thank the people who have been there for us in our hour of need. And using my surgery experience, I got a chance to take the doctor, the nurse. In fact, she was the surgical nurse was the one who helped wheel me in there. And of course, she helps the doctor by lifting up a piece of the corner of the heart so he can do the surgery and all that stuff. But I'd also like to thank the person who ran the heart and lung machine that kept my body alive, pumping fresh blood and oxygen into me while I'm laying there, on the other side of Jupiter, and my heart stopped and all that. I just like to say, hey, thank you for taking care of me in my hour of need. And also of my warped sense of humor, I'd like to also say, and by the way, thank you that when I checked out of here, I wasn't any dumber than I was when I first checked in, which means he gave me enough of the oxygen and blood that I needed. But the important thing of it is that we need to thank others that have been there for us, who have helped us in our hour of need. And there's an author in this book that can sing your song. There's an author in this book that you'd like to reach out to and say, thank you for helping me in my hour of need. That's what it's about. We got about 5 or 6 minutes left. Who else would you like to talk to, or what would you like to?
I want to mention Simon Hoare from South Africa.
Oh, yeah.
He's got another really interesting story. I just want to touch on it. His is interesting because he was a codependent child. And he saw his nanny. He had a nanny in South Africa during the apartheid. She was taken. So he witnessed, racism and during that time when all that stuff was going on, and it caused a lot of emotional discontent in him and things that really took a long time for him. But he became overweight, borderline obese, had bad health, lots of emotional problems, and it manifested. But he followed his journey, and he's very well educated too. He's got degrees, and he works in corporate as an HR consulting for a large organization. So he has that background, but he just has a really unique background and how he ended up in the book. But he has knowledge in industrial and organizational occupational psychology with various coaching models, solutions-focused brief, and cognitive behavioral coaching, integral growth. So he's grown from that place as this codependent child to be able to give back and help others. And he's makes himself available for calls and things like that. And, I want to say this, I don't want you to think these people arrive and they never have a problem again. That's not what this is. The things still are there, but you get to a point where you've shared your story, you've extracted the lessons, and you have something to give to others. And that's what, Simon does through his work as well. Illuminate.com. Illuminate.com. I'll grab that, Jim, so we can share it.
Okay. That sounds good. Yeah. And it's really amazing because the beauty in telling, like Simon telling his story and the other authors telling their story is that, there's something special about that, because when you share your story and you bless others, it just, you're going to be blessed too, obviously, but more so, it's going to take your game up a notch, because the next time something tries to grab a hold of you and drag you down, not to practice Spanish, but you're going to say, no way, Jose, you're not going down because you know that you know that you know
Yeah.
that you can do it. You can rise up like that phoenix out of the ashes. And I mean, I just keep going back to that. And I love that. I don't know where that expression came from, but it's really amazing. It really is.
Yeah. So I just want to highlight Simon and the way he found
Yeah.
me. It was just, like I said, these people kind of found me. And I know we're up against the time here, but I want to thank my mom and dad who
Oh, yeah.
I grew up in a very chaotic situation.
Mhm.
And there were times I didn't think I was going to make it. But like I said, and it's in my stories in the book, how I learned from my mom. She learned these different health modalities that would spill over into my life with vitamin supplementation and vegetables and greens. So it wasn't perfect, but I picked up some of that when I was growing up. And then my dad, who was suffered from alcoholism and chimney smoking and bad nutrition, had a stroke at 51.
Wow.
And he wasn't supposed to live 2 months after the stroke, 2 years. They gave him 2 years to live. He lived 20. So he did let go of alcoholism. He was in Vietnam, PTSD. So he had a lot of things to overcome.
Oh, yeah.
But we hung in there. It was hard. It was difficult,
Sure.
But I learned so much from my parents. And because of my parents, I'm able to do this. And I also want to give a shout out to Daphne Taylor Street, who helped us put this book together. She was amazing to help orchestrate all this and put all the pieces together to make the book possible.
She did a wonderful job. She really did. And ladies and gentlemen, it's really our pleasure for Austin and I to be here and to be able to share some of the stories in this book about some of the authors, because we know this is going to be hopefully a nice surprise for them. And it's our honor and our privilege to be associated with them, number one. Number two, to have this opportunity to share a small portion of who they are, what they're about, what their stories are about with you. And please check out, this is on Amazon. And we got we have the link up there. Let me put it up there.
Yeah, and you can just Google, if you Google health turnaround story, Austin J. Haines, or Flashpoint health turnaround story book. You can find it that way too. Amazon's really good with search.
Oh, yeah. It really is.
There.
But there's stories in there, and I know they can touch several different people in your life, because somebody's going to have heart problems. Someone's going to be going through some of the tragedy that some of these authors have went through, and it's going to inspire them. It's going to lift them up. It's going to encourage them, because that's why we're here on planet Earth. We're not here for the glit and glamour and shiny things. Only the ignorant and the undereducated don't understand that. We realize that we're here to live in love and abundance of the universe. That's what makes the world turn. That's where true power comes in. And if I can just encourage you to do one thing, and that is get into a habit of when you wake up in the morning. I do this quite often. Should do it more often, to be honest with you. But the truth of it is, when I wake up in the morning, I like to say, thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you for the heartbeat in my veins. Thank you for the breath in my lungs. And I'm going to get up today and I'm going to try to make it a good day, because it's really an honor. And everything that you have, the heartbeat in your veins, the breath in your lungs, is a gift from whom I call the Señor in the sky.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jim. Appreciate it. And we've mentioned Dr. Grant, but I just want to make sure
Academy of Wellness.
35 years in the space, just a miracle, what he does, the work he does. So thank you so much to everyone. Nothing but love for you all. Just get the book, let it touch your life.
You bet. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. We'll be back next week. And thank you so much for tuning in and keeping our show popular out in TV land. And we're just our honor to be here today. We'll see you. Hope you guys have a great weekend.